and turning on my car, putting on my seat warmers, and throwing my Prada purse on the passenger side seat. And I just remember sitting there and feeling like, what the hell am I doing? It was, by all superficial, materialistic means, I had arrived. And yet, I felt like a fraud, and I felt like I had almost betrayed my own sense of purpose. I always said, there was a time when I was living check to check and figuring out where I was going to sleep that night. I always promised myself that if I ever worked my way out of that place in life, that I would do something to inspire. I would do something in whatever way it was to give back and to be a part of something better in this world. And here I was, I had moved past that check to check stage, and I was living a very comfortable life, and I felt like I'd almost forgotten. And it wasn't enough. So I just said, if I'm ever going to reinvent myself and go back to my roots, my own sense of authenticity, now's the time. So that's what prompted it.
That's interesting. So what are you doing now? Are you still involved in the film and television world, or what would our listening audience be interested in knowing about you, and maybe how they could reach you, or what you're doing and how you might influence them?
Well, as I said, I'm working on a book that's hopefully coming out this fall or next spring. I am in development with a film right now. I'm definitely involved in film and television. I think I will be for the rest of my life. It speaks to my heart. I love storytelling. And whether it's in person or through books or in film, I've really owned the fact that I'm a storyteller. And because I have such a strong entrepreneurial background, I've weaved those three things into a publishing and film production company. And I'm going out there and doing all kinds of, hopefully, speaking engagements to promote the idea of what I believe in leadership, of what I believe in life, and working on my film and book projects.
So if you were going to tell our listeners how to live a life without regret, what would you tell them?
I would say you really can't undo yesterday, and you have absolutely no promise of tomorrow. And if all you have is this moment, surrender your ego. Let go of those labels, like unmask. Really allow the world to see you. And just work on unbecoming, because we go through life and we add all these layers that we don't necessarily need. And sometimes the greatest achievement in life is to learn to just be present.
Well, I was just going to say, isn't that Eckhart Tolle who says the power of now, you have to be right here in the present moment. And I had a very dear friend who was a member of the National Speakers Association and the Florida Speakers Association, Ray Pelletier. He passed away several years ago, but his company was January 1st. He says it didn't matter what happened yesterday, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so every day is January 1st, And I mean, that's a really, really great philosophy. But I think it's would be very interesting to our audience to know. I mean, I know you have one son. I don't know if you have any other children.
I do. I have two boys.
You have two boys, and they are how old?
16 and 10.
16 and 10. So you're developing a whole new residence. You are, writing this book. You're involved in film and television projects. Where do your kids fit into all of this?
It's interesting because it's a juggling act for sure. Fortunately, they're in a very engaging, amazing school, and they're very, very busy with their own projects. Like my son is in a summer camp program. And my older son is actually volunteering at a museum all summer. So they tend to be very busy, and I tend to try to keep as much routine as I can in my life. I find that when everybody knows what to expect, when to expect it, and we have some sense of order, things tend to move smoothly. I think everything is scheduling, and scheduling has set us free, believe it or not.
Well, that's true. I mean, it goes back to having a plan. I'm a big one for having a daily plan. I always talk about it, and I think people think I'm too structured, and I'm probably one of the most unstructured people. An unstructured, structured person because I do believe in a plan, because otherwise you'd never get anything done. But where would you say that if our audiences wanted to reach you or find out more about you, would you like them to do that?
I would love that. I just became a speaker with the NSA, the National Speakers Association, as well. I'm starting to do a lot more speaking publicly about what my whole philosophy of life is. And so I would love to connect with the audience. They can always reach me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is OneKalista. And
And
that's
that's Kalista. So
Yes,
you
it's
know how to
one
spell it.
spelled out, and it's Kalista.
Okay, so Onekalista. Okay.
And my last name is really hard to spell, but it's my first and last name. Kalista Zackhariyas is my Instagram.
Okay, and I'm just going to spell it for everybody. It's Zackhariyas. So it's Kalista Zackhariyas. And
Correct.
yeah, that's great.
I
Now,
do have my website. The company's website is thecreativehouse.com, and Kalista Zackhariyas, the name you just spelled out.com, is my personal site. They're both in development right now as part of this reinvention, but they should be live by the end of the month.
well, now I don't want to get off the subject, but I do know that you give speeches on domestic violence. So is there anything that you'd like to tell our audience about that?
Um, I think that I don't really focus on the violence aspect of it. A lot of what I do is focused on enabling human beings, whether it be women or men or children facing abusive situations, to really work on what's happening on their insides, because I don't think we can control all the external factors of what is being done to them, who is doing it to them, and that process. I think there's so much that you can't control of that. But what's happening inside of us as we are working through that, as we're overcoming that, is something I can speak to. And so what I do is really share that message of love and how I've persevered, and hopefully and share stories of how others I know have persevered through this, and sort of see, maybe they can find some inspiration in it.
Well, I do think that anyone listening, if you knew Kalista, I had the wonderful opportunity of meeting her. If you could see and meet Kalista, you would see that this is a person who has really overcome a lot and come out totally the other side. If you wanted to picture somebody who is cool and confident and attractive and poised and well-spoken and looks like she has it all, that's Kalista. And yet you'd never know that she went through everything that she went through. So any of you out there who are thinking, oh boy, everything is against me, I'll never make it, it's just not going to happen for me, this is not the case. I mean, Kalista is someone who I think you could really confide in, and she would help you. And so I'm going to encourage you again. Her Twitter handle is Kalista, Kalista. Her Instagram is at Kalista Zackhariyas, which I'll spell again, Zackhariyas. And her website is thecreativehouse.com. So, Kalista, I think you can serve as an inspiration for women everywhere, or actually for anyone, whether you're a young boy or a girl, or there's no reason why anybody has to be in an unhappy situation that, just gives up. I mean, there's always hope somewhere for you, and I think Kalista is one that can share that with you. And we have just a minute left. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Kalista?
Well, I think you've done such a wonderful interview, and I just wanted to take a moment to thank you, Dr. Carson, because you've been such an inspiration to me, and I thank you for having me on your show and giving me the opportunity to share my message with your audience. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and I hope everybody takes advantage of getting in touch with you and learning more about you, because it's really fascinating, and it just shows you that, you can graduate from the best of schools, or you can have a situation where you declare yourself an independent at a very young age and still make it as a success. So thank you so much for being with us today, Kalista, and our continued best wishes for you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.